First thing we see here, clean face, clean walls, clean floor. It tells you that this is a well-managed, tidy clamp. The next one we look at is for signs of surface waste. Waste usually happens most commonly on the shoulders and across the top of the surface. And we say visible signs, you're talking about heating, steam coming off, moulds and yeasts. The second thing we do is look at temperature control across the face. We first of all take a probe and we bury it deep into the clamp. It helps us understand how well this clamp has been consolidated, i.e. how hard it is to get this in. And as you can see in this clamp, it's pretty firm and it is pretty hard to get the thermometer probe all the way in. This thermometer probe measures the temperature at the end of the probe, which is about 600 millimeters in behind the face of the clamp. If you look at the reading here, you can see the outer temperature. We're standing here, it's about 9 degrees. Inside, at the back of that clamp, at the back of the probe, we're sitting at about 21 degrees Celsius. Now that 21 degrees Celsius is a benchmark for us to work off. That represents the temperature that the silage went in at back in the summer. And the fact that it is so well consolidated, it means it's going to be very hard for air to get in there and reduce that temperature down. So it's trapped heat in there. We then go around with another probe at a shorter depth and we measure temperature a few inches behind the face. And again, here we look for signs of heating. If, for example, this is higher than that 20 degrees, that's an obvious sign that the wastage is hitting the air, it's exacerbating the waste, and we're getting a lot more problems from aerobic spoilage. What we normally do is we take temperature readings across the face randomly and across the surface to measure temperature change. Other things then we look for is the actual wrapping of the clamp. You can see here in this clamp here, side sheeting has been used. And this definitely does help for two aspects primarily, on shoulder management and any wastage getting in down the side. It also helps with any water ingress throughout the season. And up here, it's on this particular clamp, they get a lot of water. So it helps. You often see on the sides of walls of clamps and the shoulders a lot of blackness, and that's mainly because water has got in there and just degraded and degenerated the silage. The black plastic helps prevent that from happening. It helps seal it up. Across the top of the clamp, we can't see it here, but we would also look for good weight across the complete area of the clamp, and also then the types of plastic that's used on the clamp. If you go for the basic black plastic, it's not enough. It still lets in air. We recommend that you go for an oxygen barrier plastic. You can get single sheets that will do the job. There's also twin sheets and so on. But as long as it keeps that oxygen out. In terms of weight across the clamp, two things here. Gravel bags down the shoulders. They tend to work best because they're in tight against the wall and they're lined up against each other. And then either tires touching each other across the whole surface of the clamp, or the more preferred method nowadays is actually to have gravel bags traversing the clamp set every 5 meters. And that actually gives you an oxygen barrier 5 meters steps across that clamp, because even with tires touching under the sheet, air will get up through that to the back of the clamp. So it's better using gravel bags across the surface. Other things we look for in terms of profile of the clamp, the squarer the profile at the ends, the better. Where you've got slopey shoulders, that's showing a sign that maybe the sides haven't been rolled just as tight, or that obviously just the top has started to slope down. The final thing we would do is measure the pH of the silage. pH is obviously critical to the stability of the silage. And where you start to see aerobic spoilage, the pH will change from a standard 4, maybe up above 4.5 and so on. So we would take small samples. I have a little pH meter here, which is very handy. And we just take small samples across the face, focusing on the shoulders as well, put them in, and we get our pH readings and see if there's much variation across that clamp. That will then help us highlight again, are there any areas that need to be looked at that are a high risk for deterioration.